Brooklyn Nets forward Ben Simmons initially had a terrible relationship with head coach Jacque Vaughn. Simmons dealt with injuries last season and was never on the same page as Vaughn. "It was tough," Simmons told Mark J. Spears of Anscape. "I was also injured, so I was also dealing with my own stuff, and he was in a position where it's a lot of pressure to come in and be the head coach. You still got expectations to help his team win. So, then there was just a lot of uncertainty." After last season, Vaughn made it a priority to connect with Simmons. Vaughn and Simmons were able to bond over the course of this past offseason. Vaughn went to Miami 3 times to watch Simmons work out. "I thought it was important for me to re-establish our relationship from the way it was introduced," Vaughn said. "It was during a pretty tumultuous season with expectation, trauma and chaos, and we both were involved in it. And for me to hopefully let him know that there were no hard feelings my way. I was trying to set a standard for the program, and that's my responsibility as a coach, and to let him know what my expectations were for him going forward and that I am pulling for him at the same time." Simmons is averaging 6.5 points, 10.8 rebounds and 6.7 assists for the Nets this season. The former Philadelphia 76ers star is shooting 52.8% from the field in 6 games. "Once he saw me in Miami and where I was able to get back to, he was happy," Simmons said. "That's where our relationship started to grow. He had trust in me. He came down and saw the work." Simmons is making $37.9 million this season. He signed a massive 5-year, $177 million contract with the Sixers in July 2019. Changing news, we also have Kelly Oubre Jr. suffered fractured rib when hit by car. Kelly Oubre Jr. suffered a fractured rib and sustained several cuts and bruises after being struck by a car in Philadelphia on Saturday night. Oubre was released from the hospital late Saturday, and the Philadelphia 76ers said he would be re-evaluated in 1 week. Oubre is expected to miss significant time as he recovers from the injuries. Local authorities are looking for the driver of a silver vehicle that fled the scene after striking Oubre. We have more news for you. 3 Warriors takeaways from dispiriting loss to Timberwolves. The Warriors fell to the Timberwolves 118-110 on Sunday, exposing problems they've largely been able to overcome in the season's early going. San Francisco, the Golden State Warriors were defeated at Chase Center for the second time in 24 hours on Sunday, falling 116-110 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's dive into 3 in-depth takeaways from the Dubs' dispiriting loss to the surging Wolves. The Warriors shot 37 of 96 overall and 12 of 43 from deep, managing a paltry 110.0 offensive rating juiced by the bench's last-gasp comeback in the final minute despite pulling down 19 of their own misses. Golden State had just 24 assists on 37 makes, too, the result of both Curry's teammates combining to shoot 36.6% from the field and Minnesota shrinking the floor with league-best length while laying way off the Dubs' non-shooters. Steve Kerr expressed confidence before tip-off that his team would finally give Curry some scoring support, appealing to years-long track records of Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins. But Thompson needed 16 shots to score as many points, and Wiggins looked as flustered offensively as he has all season en route to 6 points on just 3 of 7 shooting. "No question, we need some scoring and some playmaking from elsewhere," Kerr said on the post-game podium. "We gotta keep plugging away, and we'll go from there and see where that takes us." Golden State just couldn't produce clean looks when Curry wasn't directly involved in the action, either shooting through layers of arms himself or drawing enough defensive attention to only briefly free up teammates. Curry knew it, too. As the Wolves extended their lead to double digits with a dominant third quarter, he spent many possessions pointedly forcing the issue, understandably lacking confidence other Dubs could make Minnesota pay. "It does feel like everything's kinda tough to come by in terms of creating good looks," Curry said after the game. "But that's not something that we feel like is unfixable. Thompson and Wiggins are bound to play better." The Wolves own the league's stingiest defense, with arguably the best interior and wing defender in basketball and impressive positional size and athleticism across the roster. The Warriors didn't have its A game, and Minnesota is an especially tough matchup for them. As losses to playoff teams with quality defenses mount, though, it's officially time to worry about the state of Golden State's offense. We have more news for you. Lakers star D'Angelo Russell's late-game benching sparks strong fan reactions. The benching of Lakers star D'Angelo Russell late into their win against the Portland Trail Blazers drew a lot of reactions on X. The early season is a time for teams to experiment. Whether you're a contender or a team playing for the future, this is the time for coaches to stick which lineups work when. During the Los Angeles Lakers nail-biter against the Portland Trail Blazers, Darvin Ham elected to bench D'Angelo Russell in favor of Austin Reeves. This was a bit confusing, especially since Russell was excellent in distributing the ball during the game. The Lakers star ended the game with 11 points and 11 assists to just one turnover. Still, LA got the result that they wanted. Russell's benching drew some divisive fan reactions on X, formerly Twitter. I'm sure Darvin Ham has noticed that when D'Angelo Russell is benched in the fourth quarter, great things happen. Keep it that way. Ejected v Miami nearly won the game, didn't play v the Suns we won, played minimally in the fourth v the Blazers and we won again. Play 1 through 3 instead. D'Angelo Russell getting exactly over 10.5 assists and then getting benched is crazy. He wanted to be Magic Johnson tonight all of a sudden. This one stings. I hope people took him off and cashed. With Reeves now coming off the bench in favor of Cam Reddish, the Lakers always have an option of who to finish out games for them. Why Russell was benched despite his skills as a floor general is a mystery, but it might have something to do with defensive versatility. Either way, it worked out for the Lakers today. Reeves also got his share of the action with 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. It will be interesting to see how the Lakers sort out this situation. As of the moment, it's working, and everyone is happy. If it stops being successful, though, will players still buy into this setup? For instance, Tim Duncan would not be as successful as he is known today if not for the skill and abilities of Tony Parker as his primary decision-maker. There are instances in the contest when Parker knew how to maximize Duncan's talents and make him bring them to the promised land. Similar to Wembanyama, if they do not land a terrific point guard soon, his upside will be limited. It has been evident there have been a slew of possessions wherein the ball does not land in his hands because of the confusion in running their plays. Thus, the Spurs must figure out this point guard problem soon, especially if the market opens up. Changing news, we also have Spurs' biggest disappointment early in 2023-24 NBA season. Discussing the biggest disappointment for Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs so far during the 2023-24 NBA season. The San Antonio Spurs are one of the up-and-coming teams that have all the eyeballs of the NBA fans because of one reason only, and that is the arrival of generational superstar Victor Wembanyama. He has been a phenomenal addition to the Spurs organization, and the hope is that he will develop into someone like Tim Duncan or David Robinson. Despite Wembanyama's presence, it has still been an underwhelming start for San Antonio because of the surrounding pieces around him. The franchise is still in a rebuilding stage, and it will still take at least 3 years before the Spurs are legitimate contenders in the league. Even with Wembanyama's incredible individual performances, there have been several bumps and roadblocks along the way that still have not been a pleasant sight to see for the Spurs fanbase. In training camp, Greg Popovich expressed his interest to experiment with Jeremy Sochan as the starting point guard of the squad. That came as a shock for the NBA pundits because Sochan was utilized as a combo forward or small ball big for San Antonio last season. As a result, there have been a plethora of possessions wherein there is a lack of ball movement and abysmal execution with their offensive sets. At the early juncture of the season, their opponents have realized that they can pressure Sochan because he is not an excellent ball handler, and it will cause chaos with their schemes. Losing both DeJounte Murray and Derek White was tough to stomach for the Spurs loyalists because those two individuals would have been perfect playing alongside the core of Wembanyama, Sochan, Devin Vassell, and Keldon Johnson. Since their team is focused more on the individual development of their youth, it is integral to have that stabilizer and leader on the court that will feed them in their spots and formulate tremendous chemistry. Someone like Malcolm Brogdon or Tyus Jones would be a better fit in San Antonio as they have the assets to pursue someone that would unleash the strengths of their nucleus. Tyus and Trey Jones in the Spurs' backcourt feeding Wembanyama, Vassell, and Johnson on every night would be a delight for San Antonio. Trey Jones is a fantastic backup point guard, but he still has not proven that he can excel as a primary playmaker of the Spurs, so they must continue searching from other organizations. Impact on Victor Wembanyama. In regard to Wembanyama's development, it was brilliant to put him at the 4 position in his rookie campaign, as he is still in the progress of learning the ropes and pounding with the enormous men in the NBA. The physicality will be a tough grind for him, but another aspect to unleash his game is to have a sensational point guard that will give him the ball in the precise area at the perfect time. For instance, Tim Duncan would not be as successful as he is known today if not for the skill and abilities of Tony Parker as his primary decision-maker. There are instances in the contest when Parker knew how to maximize Duncan's talents and make him bring them to the promised land. Similar to Wembanyama, if they do not land a terrific point guard soon, his upside will be limited. It has been evident there have been a slew of possessions wherein the ball does not land in his hands because of the confusion in running their plays. Thus, the Spurs must figure out this point guard problem soon, especially if the market opens up. That's today's news. Thanks for watching the video. Press the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.